What up, cucks? It's your boy the Hater, and I actually watched Backlash. And by watch, of course, I mean I was playing video games while I was playing it on my phone through the Peacock app, cucks. Now let's get to it. I did watch the majority of the stuff that I found interesting, so I did basically watch this. Now, there wasn't much going on here. The event was like 5 hours total, and there was, I'm looking at the times of the matches, about an hour and a half of wrestling. So there you have it. But let's get started with the first match. First up, it was the Bloodline, which of course means Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Now, I thought Tama Tonga was a big guy. Then I realized he fucking isn't. This guy is small. I don't know how to explain it. Like, they say he's 6 foot, but he's not 6 foot. This guy's like 5'8". You know what I mean? Like, he just looked small, you know? Maybe he looks big in New Japan where everyone's like 5'3", but this guy looked small. Like Kevin Owens looked like he could destroy him. And Kevin Owens is just like a fat dude that works at a hardware store, as far as I'm concerned. So this match was kind of boring. Nothing really happened. It was your typical street fight. It turned into a street fight because they kept fighting, and then Magnus came out and said, like, it's a street fight. I don't know why they spend money to, like, fly Magnus over to France to do this when, you know, you could have just had, like, you know, Michael Cole tell us it was a street fight. I don't know what to tell you, right? Nevertheless, it is what it is. What can we do about it? Not much. Cucks. Now, the match itself was relatively boring because I knew exactly what was going to happen, and I predicted it, right? I thought it was going to be the Jacob Fatu, but it wasn't. The match ends with interference after none other than Camacho, motherfucks. Camacho. Remember Camacho? Remember when Sin Cara, Azul, unmasked Sin Cara Negro, right? Because there was like the blue Sin Cara and the black Sin Cara, and the blue one was the good guy. He unmasked the black one, the black mask Sin Cara, and that guy then becomes Unico, which, in my opinion, was an underrated little gem because Unico immediately developed a gimmick, right? He went from luchador to just like a straight up cholo, and they gave him Camacho, which was, of course, Camacho. I don't know his real name, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? Tangaloa, I think it is now. But Tangaloa, right, was just pretty much, they just looked at him and they said, you look Mexican enough. So he became Camacho, and he would just sit in the back and just be like, I don't know, Holmes. Like, I don't know, Vato. It was so stupid. This guy is such a jobber, but at least he looks big. He's bigger than like Solo Sikoa, and he's bigger than Tama Tonga. So he comes out, gets the steps, beats the shit out of Randy Orton and Kevin Owens with the steps. Then what's it called? Fucking Solo Sikoa does the spinning solo or whatever the hell it's called. The one where he like, it's like a Uranagi, right? He does that, hits the Samoan spike, and I think he pins Kevin Owens. Nothing special here. I mean, for what it wasn't horrible, right? There was a lot of good spots. There was a spot where Kevin Owens basically just like counters like the superplex into his, you know, the little counter superplex fisherman buster thing that he does. But he did it on like 4 chairs. So I thought that was pretty nice. Next up, we had Bayley versus Naomi and Tiffany Stratton. I don't think anybody gave a fuck about this match. Tiffany Stratton. Now, you know, I like Tiffany Stratton for what she is, but let's not get ahead of ourselves. People talk about her as if she's like the next China, you know what I'm saying? Tiffany Stratton is just, like I said before, just another Bianca Belair. She's just like white Bianca Belair. There's no difference whatsoever. Like, their gimmicks are exactly the same because the whole, you know, rich girl gimmick, Tiffany Stratton has abandoned that. Now she's just like basically the EST of WWE Part 2. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So whatever. She has a like a good showing, but the match ends with Bayley countering a roll up and winning. You know, nothing special here. Nothing we haven't seen before. Naomi gives her a hug. Great. Complete waste of everybody's time, if you ask me. Next up, we've got Damian Priest versus Jay Uso. I actually enjoyed this match. I couldn't believe that I enjoyed it, but the match did what it was supposed to do, and that is ensure that Damian Priest comes off looking like the biggest jobber of all time. Like, he, after the match, Finn Balor and what's his face? Fucking JD McDonough, like they attack they attack Jey Uso, and they pretty much are the reason why Damian Priest wins, right? Because they both help him tremendously. Eventually Damian Priest hits the South of Heaven from the top rope, kind of. He botches it, of course. And he wins with that. After the match, JD and Finn want to lay the smackdown, lay the beatdown on fucking what's his face. But Damian Priest stops them. Ooh, is there dissension? Is there dissension between the Judgment Day? Who gives a fuck? Like, I don't know why he's mad. If it weren't for them, he would have lost the title. So if this is gonna be like some sort of Damian Priest face turn, I could do without it, motherfucks, because I don't really think Damian Priest has anything to offer. He's just not good enough. I mean, I'm sorry to tell you, I actually like Damian Priest. I think he is good enough, but it's more like the way that he's been booked is just not good enough. It's not conducive to a successful title reign. But the match, considering what it was pretty good. Jay Uso keeps growing on me more and more. Like, is he a main eventer? No, in my opinion, he never will be. But he is fun. I do like Jay Uso. Like, if you're gonna throw away, that's one thing that I will admit. Like, if you're gonna throw away like a random event, like a random Backlash France, right? You want to throw that away? Be my guest. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to to dictate who should be the main event and who shouldn't. But if you're gonna do like a throwaway match, you might as well have it be Jay Uso, right? It's just like back in the day, if you remember when there was like the Royal Rumble and, the world champions would defend their titles at the Royal Rumble. And it's like there was no chance that they were going to lose because they were getting ready for WrestleMania. But, like you'd get like Undertaker versus Muhammad Hassan, you know what I mean? Like Undertaker or whoever the fuck it was versus like Mr. Kennedy, you know what I mean? Like people that you knew weren't going to win, but at least they could benefit from this. So I think Jey Uso can play that role pretty well, but, we'll see what happens, right? Next up, we had a horrible match. Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill, who in my opinion should be the champion already. Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair wrestle the Kabuki Warriors. The entire storyline of the match is that the Kabuki Warriors have fucking zero chance, right? That's the way that like Michael Cole and Corey Graves are talking, right? There's a part, the match itself would have been like passable if it weren't for like several botches. Namely, Kairi Sane tries to do the Destino, which is Tetsuya Naito's finishing move from New Japan. I mean, Tetsuya Naito already botches this move like 80% of the time. Like the move it's one of those moves, just like Gunther's powerbomb, right? That never looks the same twice in a row, right? Whereas you look at like, I don't know, the 619 looks the same every time, right? Like the RKO looks the same every time unless, something happens, right? A lot of things look the same because they're executed by proper wrestlers. So Kairi Sane tries to do the Destino. It fails completely, looks like shit. There's a part where Asuka tags in. This part was inexcusable, right? Asuka tags in Kairi Sane, and they do like a 12-hit combo on Jade Cargill. Like, I don't care who you are. Like, even Hulk Hogan shouldn't be able to like brush off a 12-hit combo. They hit her like 12 times, and then that's when Kairi Sane does the Destino. But the problem is, Kairi Sane then goes for the cover, but Asuka's a legal woman. She just tagged her in, right? So the referee doesn't count, and he's like, Kairi, like, you're not the legal woman. But because Kairi Sane speaks zero English, she then goes for an armbar, right? It's just so stupid. Like, it really goes to show why you gotta hire American wrestlers, or foreign wrestlers are fine, of course, as long as they can speak English. I don't understand. Like, Kairi Sane is nothing special. You have like 12 girls in NXT that can do what Kairi Sane does, right? But they won't fuck it up because of a language barrier. You know what I'm saying? None of the wrestlers that have ever come out of foreign countries, straight up, none of them, except for obviously, like, we're not counting Canadians, because, Canada is basically the United States, right? Like, Edge and Christian, like, yeah, they're Canadians, but first of all, they speak English. And two, like, Canada's America, same shit. Like, culturally, we're basically the same. So, the idea here, the problem, I suppose one might say, here is that the foreign wrestlers, are never good enough to justify the problems they create, right? Like, they just aren't good enough. You know what I mean? Like, you have, like, Mansoor, you've got fucking, the Kabuki Warriors, Nakamura, Sin Cara. It's like, these people don't speak English. They always have problems with communicating, and as a result, their matches suck. You know what I mean? And not that I'm saying that Nakamura would be having 10-star classics if it weren't for that, but, I think he'd have, like, matches closer to what he would do in New Japan, if he spoke English, right? Like, for example, his match with AJ Styles, like, was not as good as the one that they had in New Japan, right? And, like, the reason fundamentally is because AJ Styles is a better wrestler, so AJ Styles doesn't need to speak Japanese. He's just good, so he can carry himself, whereas Nakamura and his other jobbers can't, right? It's really that simple. I can't think of one wrestler that's not from Canada or the US that like was worth the trouble. You know, it's as simple as that. Like I hate to say it, but it's true. There's a few like fucking, Alberto del Rio, right? But like he spoke perfect English, so it's like he doesn't count, motherfucks. You know what I'm saying? So, anyways, then the referee, he basically gives up. He understands that he cannot communicate to Io Sky. I think it's Io Sky. No, fucking what's it? Kairi Sane. He can't communicate to Kairi Sane that like you have to get the fuck out of the ring. So he just tolerates it, right? It's fascinating. And then Michael Cole and Corey Graves are trying to explain. Michael Cole's like, oh, she was trying to get one up on the ref. Well, she succeeded because the ref is not throwing her out, number one. Two, that makes no sense whatsoever because they did like a string of double team moves, so Asuka could have pinned her. You know what I mean? Like, what? Whoa, they got one over on the ref. Haha. It was Asuka who was the legal woman, and we tried to trick you for no reason whatsoever. So Michael Cole's not good at covering for shit. That's why you need Vince McMahon in his ear. That's another thing, by the way, right? Without Vince McMahon, Michael Cole's confused. He's like, oh yeah, they were trying to get one on, get one over the referee because they're wrestling Jade Cargill. What? What are you talking about? Then Corey Graves proceeds to bury them completely. Corey Graves is like, yo, how is it that like the tag team champions are retarded, basically? Corey Graves is like, how is it that Kairi Sane still hasn't figured it out? Like that, those were like basically the words that he used. I don't know if he said like figured it out, but he used the word still in the sense that how is that Kairi Sane basically has been in this company for years on and off, right? And she still doesn't understand how wrestling works. That's basically what Corey Graves said. He's like, how is it that Kairi Sane is the tag team champion but doesn't understand what the fuck it is that she's doing? She probably thinks it's like a real sport. You know what I'm saying? So anyways, this was inexcusable. It really took me out of the match. Then there was a point where Asuka tags her in again subsequently, and then Michael Cole's like, Asuka's the legal woman now. What the fuck are you talking about? And the referee acknowledges the tag. He like does the little clap the referees do to, by themselves to signify the tag's been made. He does that. Like, it's like he completely ignores what he said, right? And this really just ruined wrestling for the whole match. It's like, why the fuck do I care what happens in this match? The match has already been compromised. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you have like a good match and something happens that really, reminds you that wrestling is fake as shit. And you're like, well, this match cannot be good anymore because it's like, you fucked up completely. Like if someone botches and then the other, like those moves where someone botches a move, like Jeff Hardy does the Whisper in the Wind, misses completely, and the guy that he missed falls anyways, and then Michael Cole is forced to say, he didn't get all of it. You know what I mean? Like those moments where you're like, oh, this is fucking stupid. Like, what am I watching? Am I retarded for watching this? You start questioning these things because it's exposed how fake it is, right? Then, finally, Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill win. Jade Cargill doesn't even get the pin. It was really stupid. But Jade Cargill, there is a part where basically she just manhandles Kairi Sane and hits the Jaded on her. Like, I think she needs a better finisher. The Jaded, first of all, that belongs to Beth Phoenix, who was like, Jade Cargill's great. I think she could be a star. But I say that only because, like, she's a star because they want to make women into stars. Like, if Beth Phoenix was around today, Beth Phoenix would be, like, main eventing 5 WrestleManias in a row compared to the rest of the jobbers that we have. Anyways, the final match starts Cucky versus AJ Styles. The match was not bad, right? It wasn't a bad match, but it was also a horrible match at the same time, right? So, if this match were a throwaway Intercontinental title match that main events a random-ass episode of SmackDown, this would be a great match, But it wasn't that now, was it, cucks? This was the main event for a pay-per-view. First of all, the fans in France were extra Nick Beardish. I don't think it's that big of a deal because this is like the first time they've seen something like this. They probably think it's real. I don't even think they understand wrestling, the French. But anyways, it doesn't really matter. The point is the point. The fans were really into it, but it was at a point where it was like almost like too much. You know what I mean? It was almost too much. I don't know how else I can explain it. It was just a little too much, don't you think? So the way that they had set it all up, right, was that the fans were just chanting about everything. They were singing some random-ass song that people sing when they hear the word phenomenal in France. Don't ask me, motherfuckers. That's what Michael Cole said. But it was a bit too much, right? Like, now, I don't want to sound like a hypocrite. I really do believe in fan engagement, and I do believe that the crowd is a very important part of wrestling as a storytelling medium. However, there is something to be said. I don't want to use words like they were disrespectful because it's a fucking fake sport. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, you can't really disrespect it any more than it disrespects itself by being fake. But the idea is that the fans were basically singing their own song. It's like that one time when the fans started chanting, "We are awesome." You know what I mean? Do you guys remember that? Where the whole idea and the whole problem behind it was like, well, if the fans keep chanting this, right, it really shows that they're not into like the match, right? There's a fine line, and I understand that, I don't want to be that guy, but it's like, you don't have to be as locked in as the Japanese fans are, where they just like sit there and they don't react, and at the end they clap. Like, that's stupid too. But like, if you are also like, like the French fans were at Backlash, if you're like that, that's like too much on the other side of the spectrum, right? Where it's like, you're just like too into yourself. It's like, you're not watching this anymore, like if you were to watch the World Cup final, right, and it got the penalties, the French, I'm sure, were all shutting the fuck up when Mbappe was shooting the penalty, right? They were all like, taking it seriously, right? Now, I understand this is not the World Cup final, but you're supposed to take it seriously, right? So it's like, when AJ Styles is out there wrestling and the fans are cheering like idiots, then, that takes it away. But the worst thing about this match was not that, because that's whatever. That's like a pet peeve. I would never criticize the fans. They spent their hard-earned euros to go there into something that they probably think is like a real sport, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, it wasn't that. It wasn't even the fact that they started singing Cody Rhodes' theme song in its entirety, which was like just cringe as hell. But it was more so the fact that this match was just meaningless. And as a result of it being meaningless, I couldn't get behind it, right? I knew there was a 0% chance that AJ Styles was winning this match, right? AJ Styles is just there to take the first L from Cody Rhodes. Maybe one day AJ Styles can take the title from Cody, but it wasn't going to be now, right? In addition to that, the match was just really dumb because Cody Rhodes keeps Cody Rhodes is decent in the ring. Like, he's athletic enough, but he's not like crazy athletic like AJ Styles is. And the match ended with Cody Rhodes doing like a top rope Cody cutter and looked like shit, right? He's not good at that move. Like, he shouldn't be doing the Cody cutter. He botches it like 50% of the time at minimum. And it's not a hard move to do, right? The other wrestler, in this case AJ Styles, is a great wrestler. So he should have no problem putting his neck out there so Cody can grab it. But the nature of the move, the Cody cutter, is such that, like, it's basically just Cody Rhodes jumping backwards and hoping to grab the person's head, and then whatever happens, happens. It doesn't even have to be a cutter. It could be like it was today. He grabs AJ Styles' head and essentially tackles him in the air while holding his head. And then he hits the crossroads and wins, right? The match and the entire title reign of Cody Rhodes, I think, leave a lot to be desired for. So, as far as I'm concerned, I couldn't get excited for this match, right? This was a match that, like, I played more video games than I spent time watching this match. Whereas, like, for example, the first match, I actually watched it, right? And that's the difference, motherfuckers. That's the difference. If I know what's going to happen with certainty, I'm not going to watch the fucking match, right? And that's why WWE, in my opinion, has really fallen down to the wayside. Cuckolds.